Next up, AI in action. We are going to delve into five game-changing use cases for marketers with Jonathan Milne, VP of AI Marketing Services at DemandSpring. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Thanks for having me, Julia. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. What's the latest and greatest?
What's the latest grades? Well, I thought today we would have some fun because I've been going to a lot of trade shows and conferences, and I keep getting the same question of like, what tool should I use, or, what use cases are people doing? And so I thought today we'll do something a little bit more different in these settings and show the viewers five real examples. And what's fun about these examples, they're all free tools, so everybody can follow along, try it at home, try it at work, and see if they can apply it in their day-to-day lives.
Excited to dive in.
Yeah. Can I just jump in and
Yeah, yeah,
share my screen? Yeah,
sure.
screen. Awesome. All right. So hopefully you can see my screen all right. So we're going to go through them live. We're going to have some fun. We're going to probably run into some demo challenges, but we'll see how it goes. But I thought I'd share you one around SEO, a fun one from Google around how to create a podcast review. We'll jump into some Facebook ads. If you ever want to do sentiment analysis, that was kind of my aha moment, and with GPT 3.5 a couple years ago. And then I thought we could also share people. I do a lot of reading. I'm sure you do too, Julia. So I thought maybe we can share how do you actually take a book and put into practice. And then if we have some time, I'll share one kind of little bonus fun prompt at the very end. So let's
Awesome.
jump on with SEO blogs. So when most websites, if you're not aware of this, most websites publish something called a sitemap.xml. So if I go to our website and type in sitemap.xml, this is the same file that Google will use to figure out how to crawl your website. But what I'm looking for is this. I'm looking for something that's going to share with us all of our posts or all our blog posts. And then a real quick hack is you can go File, Print, Save as PDF, and you can save this document to your drive for us to use. So I already have it, which is great. So the idea would be go to your website, grab your sitemap, and then pick two, three, four, how many competitors you have, and go and do the exact same thing for their sitemap. So now it's like, okay, I have all of my blogs and I have all the blogs of my competitors. Then I'm going to go to Gemini. The reason I use Gemini for this is I think Google has a little bit more data on keywords and a little bit more data around, what's going on in the world of SEO. So I tend to always lean towards them. And then I'm going to write a prompt. And the prompt's going to look something like this. And of course, you can, play with the prompt and reword it as you see fit. But you want to say something as act as an SEO expert. And I'm going to ask you to look at, insert instead of DemandSpring, put your company name here. And I'm going to compare it with some top competitors. And then I'm going to ask it to do something. And this time, in this example, I'm going to ask it to generate, you can pick as many as you want, 5, 10, 15 blogs. And again, make sure you're saying it for whom. So you write your own name again as well. And then what I like to do with AI often is not only do I want suggestions, I also want to understand the why behind AI. So AI often gives us stuff. They're getting better and better now. With a lot of their use cases, you'll see they're explaining more of what's going on with AI, but I definitely want to push it and say, okay, explain to me your title, your target keyword, and a little brief explanation why you're doing this. And so if we do something like this, I already reran this one just in advance just to make sure it was working. So you can see it's the exact same prompt. I only put in my sitemap, so it doesn't have my competitors. I didn't want to do anything rude live, so we decided. And then here's what Gemini provided me. So it goes through a little bit of analysis, explains what it's doing. It says, okay, here's some gaps I see, and then it pumps up these really interesting blog articles. And the one that caught my eye was actually near the bottom here, where it said, okay, how about an essential guide on influencer marketing? Now, this is a topic that we don't touch a lot at DemandSpring. I'm like, this is a great new area for us. We're not strong on it. Let's definitely add this into our list of ideas. And, explains why we should do this. And then the other one was video. And we just saw our friends from Vidyard, right? So we're big fans of them as well. So absolutely, doing video, doing avatars is a new key term we're all learning, is definitely something that we're seeing more and more of our clients using to help reach people with a more personalized outreach. So it's definitely a really fun, simple hack, I'd call it maybe, that we can do. And then we'll make sure afterwards, Julia, that we give everybody access to the whole doc, right? So they can have access and they don't have to worry about, screen captures and copying all down, but it's super simple. The next one, let's go into Notebook LM. So if you've never used Notebook LM, it's a very fascinating tool. I actually was first introduced to it through my kids. So what's interesting is I'm pretty sure that Notebook LM came out of their classroom tools. So it reminded me of these tools they had where you used to be able to upload documents into your Google Classroom. And then Google used to use AI tools to do things like turn into a quiz, summarize it, create flashcards, and all these kind of interactive ways to say, I've got all this content. How do you help your kid learn? What's fascinating is they kind of open this up now to all of us to use for everything. And so one fun use case that I've seen quite a lot, and it's really fun to do, is put your own company's URL into a notebook, and then you're going to hit this thing called Studio, and then we're going to generate the audio. And I'm going to, hopefully this is going to play for you guys. But if I go into my notebook, and all I did was added my URL for my company. Let's see if this plays through my speakers. And Julie, give me a thumbs up if you hear this or not.
Today, we're going on a journey into the world of AI and its impact on B2B marketing leaders.
Okay.
We're diving deep into Demand Spring's website.
Right.
They're, well-established marketing automation company.
Yeah.
But they seem to be making a big push into AI. Our mission to understand how B2B marketers are already using AI and what these experts at Demand Spring, what they predict for the future.
Well,
So what's fascinating about this is no prompt, nothing other than me giving them the website URL for our company. They created a 17-minute podcast overview of our brand. And you can use this for anything. You can use this for documentation, training materials, competitive analysis, you name it. What's fascinating is this, they have these two avatars digitally discuss your brand and have a discussion about you. And the accuracy and the insights are always extremely fascinating. And it's not just taking surface level information. So Google's actually gone through a whole bunch of our website pages and it's picked up case studies, blog articles, and all kinds of information beyond the homepage to generate this. And it does it literally in minutes. And so if you've never played with this, Julia, I don't know if you've done this one, but definitely it's something fun. And then what you can do with like with events, for example, is we have a lot of videos coming out from today. You can stick all of those videos and YouTubes, link them all here, and then have people listen to a summary of everything that was talked about today. So if someone wants all the highlights or all the insights from today's things, you can do that. I also use this tool for with my clients that after we do a 12-week AI first mindset training, I put all the documents in here, and then everybody has access to all of the training materials, the best practices. If they forget something, it's a really fun way to kind of educate people. So please check it out, and it's free. Let's get into another one then. So I just share with you. It looks like they've already changed the UI a little bit since I created these slides on Monday, believe it or not. So always be aware that these tools keep changing. So you might not see the word generate. It might be something new like publish or something like that. But go ahead and you'll figure it out pretty quickly. Next one, this one's fun. So this one is ads. So a lot of us are not ad experts. We sometimes hire agencies to create ads. We sometimes don't get the best results. And so, why not use AI to guide us? And what's really fun about this is almost every ad platform now provides transparent visibility into the ads that are being published on their ad set. So you could do this the same thing for Google, but I'm going to just use Facebook today. So if you actually go to Facebook's library, I thought we'll do some fun ones around food. Clearly, I'm hungry. It's lunchtime, so let's do some fast food. So I am going to pretend I am Burger King. And so again, you look up your ads of, it could be yourself or your competitors. Again, I would suggest going up to the file and print. And then what happens again is you get to pull all of the ad sets, and AI does a very good job of taking PDFs, OCR in it. So that's using the technology to turn that into text, and then you get to use it. So I've already did this in advance just to kind of save us a little bit of time, but I did Burger King and a few others. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this. I have not clicked go yet, so I'm going to learn just as much as you. But what I did is I said, okay, act as an advertising expert. You're going to put the industry that you're doing. So we're going to specialize in the fast food burger industry. I'm going to pretend I'm from Burger King, and we're going to analyze and compare our current ad strategies and content against our top two competitors. And then we're going to add Wendy's and McDonald's. So I grabbed the other two just for fun. And then I want to look at the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. And then I'm going to ask the AI to provide a breakdown of the key differences in targeting, messaging, and creative approaches. And then based on this analysis, suggest 3 highly targeted ad campaigns. I'm just going to add for you here for fun for us at Burger King to remind it on what role I want it to play. And then these suggestions should be backed by advertising best practices and data-driven insights. So what I'm trying to do there at the very end is saying, hey, AI, you're quite clever. You've seen a lot of things. You have a lot of information about ads. I want to pull that out of you and see if you can apply it to what I'm trying to do here today. So what we're going to do is hit go. And we'll see what magic ChatGPT. Now you can change different models if you want, see the different comparisons. I just kind of use the default mini. So you can see it's taken some time to analyze the documentations. A little trick, by the way, if you ever are using documentations in a prompt, always put your document in first and then ask AI to work on it. Don't act as something. Say I'm going to share something next and share the documents. It turns out for some strange reason, it likes to get the documents first, read them, analyze them, and then look at your prompt and then try to act on it. So it's just a little hack to get a little bit better results. So it's looking at the target audience. Awesome. So Burger King, we at Burger King here are young, digital savvy consumers. Wendy's, they're saying they're deal focused. And McDonald's, they're going broad, looking at family, students, and budget-conscious diners, which is interesting. So here it's giving me some ideas of my messaging and creative style. It's talking about my strengths and weaknesses like we asked it to. It's comparing the strengths and weaknesses or opportunities, such as opportunities here. So that's interesting. So it realizes, instead of saying the weaknesses about Wendy's, we're going against them. AI's decided to share me opportunities, which means these are Wendy's weaknesses, but my opportunities to take advantage of, right? So it's a very kind of cool little switch they did. And then, okay, so here's some information, and then here we go. So it's giving me kind of this idea of kind of beyond the Whopper, a flavor adventure. It's giving me some execution, and it's giving me some best practices. This is an interesting idea. Vibes is a very term often today by the younger generation. So I think this is cool. BK value vibes. I kind of like that one, right? So going after a demographic. I'm getting a smile out of you, Julia. So that's a good sign. And then it's this idea of fritastic moments. So, like how cool it is that, I'm not an ad expert, but here I am using AI, asking it some information, pounding in some extra data, some examples of what my competitors are doing, and very quickly it's starting to give me some fun ideas to play off of, and then I can take these ideas and stick it into my favorite design tool and start to create the background designs. I could also use other AI tools to do quick editing of videos. So this vibes one, I can see myself doing something funny with like burgers and maybe like sound vibration vibes or something that kind of makes it like shake and move. You can start to get some fun ideas very quickly and execute it, right? So one thing I always love to tell people is that for the very first time in all of our careers, all of us have this, I like to call AI my companion, who's constantly available to me, who allows me to get as much support as I want. I can ask as many dumb questions. It will never hurt my feelings. It'll continue to try to help me succeed. And if you don't get your answers or the results you want, then I always say it's us making the mistake, not AI. So we have to add more context, provide more details, perhaps provide more data, and then ask AI to say, okay, how can I, get better at it? So that's ads. So that's the third one. So again, here's the prompt and a little reminder of going to the library. Next is Perplexity. So Perplexity is a very cool tool if you've never used it. What's super fun is you can do stuff like deep search on it now for free, as well as you can do that now with Gemini, I've noticed. But one thing Perplexity does that I thought was fairly unique is you can do something called social search. It looks like today the data is limited to just Reddit, which is fine. It's a very great resource. Reddit has all kinds of data, again, for like blog ideas, terminology your customers might be using. But one of the use cases I like to use for it is sentiment analysis. So what I mean by that is I want to try to get a kind of a sense of what are people saying around my brand or about my customers' brands in these Reddit groups, and kind of get an idea. Are they talking about it positively, negatively? What are they saying? And it's a lot of work for us to go through a whole bunch of subreddits and kind of track it and also get a vibe of, is this positive or negative language? So what you can do is you can go to Perplexity as the search tool, and I'll share this in a second here. And again, you can do a search a little bit like a prompt and say, act as a social media manager. You put your company name here. I'm keeping this for now because I'm very hopeful that Perplexity, like all these tools, we keep adding new features very quickly. It's going to do more than just Reddit. And so I'm hoping they pull in more data very quickly, but you could just use this for Reddit. And then I give it a task and I say, okay, your task is to identify both positive and negative mentions of my company name. I want you to prioritize and share links to negative mentions because I'm curious what the negative first, because I want to see if there's a way I can address it. Maybe I can jump into Reddit and answer the questions or give another perspective. And then what's fun about AI is, and if they find something negative, not only do I want to respond to it, I'm going to ask AI, why don't you give me some suggestions on how to respond to it so that I don't have to think about it as quickly, or give me a starting point where, you know what, maybe AI is not perfect at responding to this because it doesn't really know my brand, doesn't know kind of the way we speak, but at least gets my kind of creative juices flowing again, and do that. So in Perplexity, when you're playing here, there's this little button here called Set Sources. So what I suggest is you click off the web and you click on social, right? And so this is where you would stick your prompt in it. I'm not going to do it now because sometimes this can take a couple minutes to run. So I don't think anybody wants to see our Perplexity run. But I did do one already that I can share the output. So I did one on what's it called? Tim Hortons. So Tim Hortons is a beloved brand here in Canada, but for a lot of users, they're just starting to discover that it's no longer owned by a Canadian organization. And so I'm curious to see then what's happening and what's going on with the brand. The one thing I did in this example prompt is I did not give it subgroups. So if there are subgroups in Reddit that you are aware of, then absolutely add that into the prompt. What I suggest is let Perplexity find the first groups for you, and then when this follow-up, add in your subreddits that you know about and ask it to go in deeper, right? So kind of let it explore, see what it figures out, let it start to think about its neural network on how to solve your problem, and then give it more instructions is a best way of using these tools. And what I found fascinating is that I'm here based in Ottawa, Canada. So one of the things it did for me, which I didn't ask it for, it went to our Ottawa. So it went to my local one and said, hey, I'm curious to see how your local people in your local area are talking about this brand for you, which I thought was super interesting, right? So again, these AIs are learning more and more about us. It probably knows where I am based on my IP address, but it's fascinating to me that it's pulling in these extra data of contextualization. So you talk about a video personalization, right? And contextualization, you can see the AI agents are doing the exact same thing. They're trying to grab extra data about us to try to give us a better answer so that if, Julia's doing this prompt and I'm doing it, we're going to get obviously different results, but it's also going to say, hey, for Julia, you might have these interests, and for John, you might have these ones. And that makes it even more contextualized for us, which is fascinating. And yeah, so it pulled up some interesting information. It highlighted the fact that, address, the ownership concerns, which I knew about, are actually something being talked about, which I thought was interesting. And there's been a lot of changes recently. And so we definitely see a quality challenge here. The donuts are no longer as good as they used to be. They used to be made fresh on site, and they're now all warmed up from frozen. You can definitely see there's a trend here of what's happening to our beloved brand here in Canada called Tim Hortons. So I thought that was quite interesting. All right. And one last one is books. So this is a fascinating one that I kind of got an aha moment. If you look behind me, I've got a shelf. I do a lot of reading. I'm sure, Julia, you do a lot of reading as well. But AI is the first time I realized that we can do a couple things. One is a lot of people obviously can use AI to give you summaries, insights, quick takeaways from these authors. And I would challenge you not to do that. And the reason for that is I'm a big believer in if you don't have all the context of reading a book, you're not going to get its true value. You're going to get a shortcut to something, but you're not going to get all of the real takeaways and the kind of the why. You're going to get a lot of like the hows, right? And so sometimes you want to understand the why and the what before the how. And so I'll challenge us as humans that we should be careful of using AI to shortcut learning. But one of the cool things you can do now is you can take something you like from a book and apply it. So I'm going to use a fun one from April Dunford. She's somebody I admire and love reading her books. And she wrote a book a little while ago called Obviously Awesome, which has this really cool framework inside of it on how to position and write clear positioning and messaging as a B2B marketer. And so I came up with this as a simple prompt. Again, you can modify these prompts for any book, but the idea is like for her, because it's about marketing messaging, I'm going to act as a marketing messaging specialist. I'm going to ask the AI to use the book. I'm going to give it a little context of who I am, what industry I am, what is my primary objective, and then I'm going to ask it to create the statement that they talk about inside of this book. And I want to target this audience. And with it, you'll get this very cool output that basically says, okay, from the best practice of this book, for the use case you share with me, for the context you gave me, I'm going to give you now a great messaging framework and a way you can use to position your company moving forward. And I'm like, wow, like how cool is this that I can read a book, turn around and action it, right? So another one I had recently, I was talking to a CMO at an HR tech company, and they were reading stuff about emotional IQ. So one of the things I said to them is like, this is awesome. So you're doing emotional IQ, sorry, EQ, not IQ, EQ. And I said, great. So are you trying to learn how to apply it? And she's like, yeah, but I'm struggling with it. So I said, if your employees are open for it, record a couple of your one-on-one sessions and put that AI, take that content, put it into an AI tool, and then use this book and a prompt similar to this and asking it to coach you on how to elevate the way you talk and use EQ in your conversations with your employees. Right. So first of all, you want to make sure your employees are cool with the idea of recording and sharing the information. But again, you've read this entire book. It's a couple hundred pages long. You've got all these great ideas coming from it, but you're kind of stuck on like, how do I actually apply it and get going with it? Well, for the very first time in our lives, you can now take a book and put it to action, which I think is super, super powerful. All right, we still have some time. Awesome. So I'm going to give you one last one. This is a fun one. If you've never seen this one, you've never done it, please try it today. If you're writing any type of prompt and you're not getting good results, or you're getting good results, still ask AI to roast your prompt. It's a very fun way, actually, to see into the mind of AI to make fun of you. But what actually happens is by making fun of yourself, you actually start to learn things that the AI could use to help improve it. You can also, on any time, ask AI when you write a prompt, before you run it, say, please review my prompt and ask me 5 more questions or X amount of questions or more details that would enable you to give me a better response. And very quickly, AI will come up with some stuff that says, hey, if I knew this, and this about you, so obviously it's more context, I can give you a much more in-depth response to give you a better result, right? So we often find people who are kind of new to AI and prompting, they try to kind of do a one-shot prompt and then they kind of blame the AI for not getting results. I'd say, no, it's kind of like a co-op student. Make sure you're working with the co-op student, giving it lots of details on what you're trying to do. Make sure your outcome is very clear. And also one extra nuance is make sure your task is one thing at a time. Although we have deep reasoning and the reasoning models are allowing AIs to do a lot more, I still would tell you, try to make sure your prompt is not trying to have like 3 different things. I want you to create an outline, a blog post, and my social media posts all in one go because I heard these things are called AI agents now. And as an agent, you're supposed to take over my job. Therefore, you should be able to do all these things. It's a really poor way to get good results out of AI. Start off with like, let's do the outline. Agree to the outline. Okay, that's good. Now let's use that outline to create my blog post. Let's work on the blog post. I don't like your intro. Let's change some things. Let's evolve the blog post. Okay, I like that. Now that I have a blog post, let's do some social media posts, right? So always chunk up and to multi-steps your activities or your jobs to be done with AI, and that will definitely help you with what you're trying to do. And with that, Julia, I think I'm pretty good on time.
Super insightful session, Jonathan. Thank you so much. Just quite funny that we humans spend so much time just and resources training, the algorithm and AI, the LLMs, to think like us, and now we're trying to dehack the AI and to adapt the thinking to the machine. I'm curious, and our audience is, which AI use case is delivering the fastest ROI for marketers right now?
Yeah, so the one thing I like to kind of address is I often find when I do a lot of leadership coaching around AI that we read a lot of stuff around effectiveness, right? Sorry, efficiency. And what I mean by that is we keep reading stuff like AI is going to take over our jobs, it's replacing this, it's making a lot of things more efficient. But what I find, especially in the first kind of 9 months to 18 months of experimentation for most teams, you're actually improving effectiveness. So you actually find yourself, things take longer, not shorter, because you're building out your prompt libraries, you're building out your custom GPTs, you're discovering that things you do, you can become deeper and more experts in than before. So if you think about, I'll go back to blog writing in the past. For a lot of companies, they write a blog post, they go through a little checklist, and then they publish it. With AI now, I can write about 5 or 10 custom GPTs that's looking at stuff like interlinking. I'm looking at keyword density. I'm comparing my blog article to the top 5 to quickly see if I'm missing something. You can go so much more deeply into that blog article to make it more effective, right? That we're spending more time on that. So the one thing I'm finding is that effectiveness is kind of the way we need to think. Next is everyone's obsessed with tools. And my biggest advice around tools is if your organization has allowed you to get a tool, don't worry about all the other tools. Learn how to master this tool as quickly as possible and as deeply as possible. And so, whether or not you have Gemini or ChatGPT or Copilot, they all have their strengths and weaknesses. They're definitely not equal in the sense of output today because they have their kind of best practices and focuses. But every single month, every single quarter, one does something better, then the next one kind of copies it and does something else better. And it's kind of like this constant battle. So yeah, so for a couple of months, you may not have the coolest feature available. So, for example, I noticed that Gemini's now launched canvases, which is something that was inside of ChatGPT, right? And then now they also have deep search, which is something you get for free in Gemini, which you have to often pay for in OpenAI. So they just keep offering more values and stuff like that. So if you are blessed to work in an organization where you can use multiple tools, then I would definitely say keep playing with multiple tools. It shows that there's different things. Like I mentioned before, I use Gemini anytime I'm doing like SEO, keyword, YouTube video stuff. I feel like its power around that data source and that knowledge is greater. But I might use something like Midjourney now that has a great UI experience to do images, even though Gemini and OpenAI both have their own image creation. I still find like Midjourney is just not much better. But for how much longer, I'm not sure. It's a very tough world to be in these LLMs who are constantly spending a lot of money to invest in their technology stack. They just keep kind of meeting equilibrium, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. A question from Andy. For the book reviews, have you found that the AI has enough information about the book? I also love April. Can we see an example of the prompt you gave?
Yeah, so that's a very good statement. I can share back the prompt I gave as well while we're talking. So one thing you have to recall is that the LLMs are trained in historical data, right? So what I mean by that is the LLMs have data up to a period of time. So I think OpenAI is about 6 to 9 months old now. So if a book has been published in between that period, it has very little information, but it will try to fill in the gap by using search. So if you go to OpenAI, for example, and you remember there's a little button on there called search, when you click on that, it's like, I'm going to go try to find things on the web today that exist, pull that in and give you summary. So what it does there is if you have a new book, it's going to quickly look at reviews in other sites. Older books or any book kind of prior to that 9 month window, it doesn't have a copy of the book. It has not read the entire book. What it's gathering is data that people have run summaries, discussions, videos. It's kind of correlating all this other data it has around the book because it doesn't have actually the book. So it's very important to understand that it does not have all of the context of the book. So if you really want to play with it, you should add more into your prompt around the context of the book that you like and even give examples or pull out some paragraphs and share that in your prompt to help the AI give you a more succinct answer to what you're trying to do. So that's a phenomenal question.
I'm gonna say something bad, but you can use DeepSeek. I'm pretty sure the information about the book is quite complete there, I heard. But yeah, for clear reasons. Jonathan, this is amazing. Very practical session. Where should our community go to support you and learn more?
Yeah, so please reach out onto LinkedIn. So Jonathan Milne, my full name on LinkedIn. You'll see my beautiful red hair on there as well. Or you can always reach out to me through DemandSpring. Reach out to us on Contact Us. We are very much a non-traditional agency. We're really about helping people advance their best practices, their teams, their skills, and we can really, have a conversation. We are super easy to talk with, super available. So please reach out.